most potential. So, Sean, who has the most potential on this team?
There's multiple different routes that this could go. Again, I'm torn between two different players on this one. There's one that I make the argument for all the time, so I'm going to go with the other. I'm going to go with the Sar Thompson. His, just first of all, this guy came in day one and is, like a first or second team All NBA defensive type player. When healthy, when given those reps, he was the best Pistons defender day one, and it was indisputable. He also came in and was one of the best rebounders in the league, led even bigs, like Victor Wembanyama at the beginning of the season in rebounding. His effort is insane. I also talk about all the time, just this guy is an absolute gym rat, and I mean that in the best compliment possible. I tell this story repeatedly just because I think this just paints just the picture of who Asar is. I remember like being at a press conference with him, and one of the questions that was asked was, what's been the biggest adjustment, for the NBA off the court for him? And he was like, off the court? Like that wasn't even a concept that registered to him, being off the court. Like, he is in a gym at all times. He thinks about, basketball. If you listen to him and his brother, talk hoops, they talk about like what it means to be a winning basketball player. Like, he is in tuned in that. He doesn't care about the stats. And the thing is we haven't even seen him develop his handle. We haven't seen him develop his jump shot. And he was still showing like 10, 15 plus point scoring nights when he wasn't fully developed in that area. So in my personal opinion, if Asar Thompson, puts all the pieces together, we're looking at a first or second team All NBA player. The other player, and I think you probably might have him, is Jalen Duren, is my guess. His potential is through the roof as well. I've talked about that a lot, but I just think, I think Asar's potential is not talked about enough.
Yeah, I went back and forth with this, Sean, and I'm just gonna show you who I have because I had such a hard time, and I have Cade Cunningham actually, and it might
that's fair. That's fair.
Kind of surprise. Like most people, they're like Asar, possibly Jaden Ivey, Ron Holland, Bobby Klitman. Maybe if you're like you really buy into Bobby Klitman, which I do. The reason why I have Cade Cunningham is I think some people, maybe in the Pistons community, maybe in just like, credential media community, they're like, well, we already kind of know what Cade is, 22, 23, points a game, maybe 7, 8 assists. I think Cade actually has another gear. I don't think he's a finished product. I think it would be very foolish to kind of write him off because I think he has a gear where maybe he's averaging 26, 27 points a game. I think he has it in him. I think he defers a little bit too much to my liking. I think he's a little bit too unselfish. I think there are times where I watch him and I was just like, dude, you could have just taken it to the basket. You got a mid-range wide open. Just be a little bit more assertive, be more aggressive. That's why I have him for the most potential. But I agree with you. Like Asar and Cade are like 1A and 1B with me.
Yep.
Last week when I was talking with Eric, I asked them a question of the effect of choose 3 players to build around long-term out of the core 4. And obviously he did not have Asar whatsoever. He's not as high on Asar, which I get. There are some people in the community that aren't. I understand it. But to your point, like if he develops jump shot, develops a handle, like is that Kawhi Leonard? Kawhi Leonard like
yeah,
he could be really scary if
he's an underrated playmaker. His vision is immaculate, and when you look at like the traits of who are the guys that develop those things, it's the guys who just live in the gym and live for the game, and that's Asar Thompson to a T. And I think your Cade point is absolutely valid as well, especially because I don't think we've even seen his full capabilities as a defender yet either. And I think he can be really good on that end as well. And especially, I don't think we've seen, as, a guy like JB Bickerstaff just talk about is, you can play him at the 3 as well. Like you can put him in multiple different positions. So, I think with Cade, there's a lot of untapped potential because there's a lot of different ways he can be used that haven't really been experimented with. And especially when you put, NBA level competent players around him, you're going to be able to explore with that a lot more. So I think there's a lot of credence to what you say. I think the reason why I went with like an Asar or a Duren is because I think there's like, I think they're at like the beginning gears of what they're going to be. I think Cade is a lot closer to being a finished product than those guys. Although Cade still has a lot more room as well, if that makes sense.
No, it makes complete sense. Like, because when you talk about Asar, you talk about Duran, like there are layers to their games where the potential just has not been untapped by coaching staffs yet, which I
Yep.
think the guys coming in um can help them reach that potential. Like I know a lot of people didn't really recognize it, but Jalen Duren's progression of being close to an 80% free throw shooter kind of got swept under the rug last year. Like, not a lot of people were talking about like the progression of being like an 80% free throw shooter. So I think your answer is spot on. I just had Cade because I think there's maybe a year or two left that he just has not hit. And I think
Yep.
once he hits all the gears, like he could easily, Sean, like average 30 points a game if he wanted to.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. I actually did a pod with Mike Curtis recently. We talked about like the differences between Luca and a Cade, and like the biggest thing, honestly, was the usage. Is just how much Luca is looking to score, and I think Cade, like don't get me wrong, he gets in those fits where he knows he has to put the ball in the bucket, but at the same time, like you said, he's a guy that's very conscious about getting his teammates going, about getting them involved, about playing, the right brand of basketball. And, that's the mentality you want. But at the same time, sometimes you have to tell your star the right brand of basketball is you getting the bucket because you are the brand of basketball.
Yeah, shout out to Mike. I remember he like left mid-season and the Pistons just so happened to play like Dallas like the next week.
It
And
was literally his first game as he actually tells the story about this exchange on the podcast, not to plug, but it is a hilarious story.
well, definitely go check out Sean's YouTube channel to go watch that. I know you've had some pretty big time guests I've noticed over the past couple of weeks. So shout out to you, man. That's awesome to see.
Appreciate it, man.
I mean, I get it, man. It's hard to try to like lock in guests. It's just like, man, I was like, who do I want to have on with Piston Squares? Is like who won't be upset or just like fold their arms the whole way. I was like, I gotta get Sean. It's
I
just
feel like I'm pretty measured, all things considered.
yeah, it's like there was someone I was gonna reach out to. I was like, no, I said they'll get pissed if I put them in that spot, but